All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakak. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect to the nation of Israel. This is going to be a lesson on how the day is definitely going to come where there's famines, man. And the day is definitely going to come where there's no food and there's lack of bread. And we've already saw an example of this during the times of the lockdowns, right? When the lockdowns took place, we were seeing that there were certain foods that was getting taken off the shelves either by people bulk buying them or by there being lack of stock, right? But recently, I saw that there was a lack of certain foods in the store that was being blamed on heat, right? There was lack of foods being available in the stores due to lack of heat, and it was like all of the certain frozen foods, all the freezers was empty. There was literally not one item in certain freezers for certain items, man. Like there was literally nothing in there, right? For certain dairy products, there was nothing there. And then like I'll show the picture in a second anyway, but I'm gonna read the scripture first because the day is gonna come where people are gonna see that there's no food in the stores, man, or there's certain items that they used to always have, certain little luxuries that they normally used to get, that they're gonna find that are not in the store, and they won't care when those things are not there necessarily because they'll still be able to fill their belly. But then it's gonna get to the point where necessities, things that people always buy, such as milk, eggs, bread, flour, rice, pastas, all of these different types of things, and all types of grains and legumes and like vegetables, fruits. When people start seeing those things gone from the shelves too, people are going to lose their mind, man, and they're going to become very extremely violent. This is 2 Ezra chapter 15 and verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So the day is going to come where people are going to have a desire in their mind to do certain things, and there's not going to be a police officer to arrest them, put them in handcuffs, read them their rights, put them in a jail cell, bring them back to the courthouse to give them a sentencing, and then take them to the jail and keep them in that jail cell until a certain time, and then give them a time frame that they might shorten the duration for good behavior and then send them back out into the world. People are going to commit a crime, get away with it, have been able to enjoy their flesh, what they committed the crime for, then go and commit another crime, and then they're going to go and commit another one, and then they're going to go and commit another one after that, man, until somebody physically stops them from committing that crime, that wanted to commit a crime, and have them as the victim of a crime, man. It's going to become a horrible time that people are getting ready to see on the earth. Verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. And these times that are getting ready are going to cause for these types of things to be made to happen, where people can't go from one place to another. Fuel being scarce, or fuel being too expensive, is one way how this can happen. How people cannot travel from one nation to another. A disease being spread across the world and causing for people to be told, oh, we can't do flights at the moment, can stop from one person going from one city to another, because people might say, oh, going from one city to another city doesn't mean that you can't go on holiday. Well, yes, it does. Because when you go from one city to another, when you go from one country to another, you're normally traveling from one city in the country that you're in to another city in another country. Right? That's normally how people's holidays work. They don't just say, oh, I'm going to go to a holiday and I don't care about what city I end up in. As long as I end up in that country, they normally go on holiday to go to a specific place in a particular city. Like a lot of people travel from London maybe so that they can go to New York, because a lot of people like to go to New York that live in London, because they say that London and New York are pretty much similar in several ways. And I don't know how true that is because I ain't never been there, but it kind of looks similar. It's kind of like a concrete jungle type place, like most of Esau cities. Verse 18, for because of their pride the city shall be troubled. So this is why it's happening, because people have been proud and have been disrespectful and have been hateful on Yahweh's earth, and have been ignoring the ways that Yahweh said you're supposed to live, and saying, nah, we think we can figure out a better way than that. That way is too mean. that way is too hard. So they've said they're going to follow their own way. They're going to try and seek their own righteousness. The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, and for great tribulation. Now that I've read that, I'm going to show the image that I took a picture of, man. Right? As I was going through the store, right, I already saw, I believe on the other side of this, on the right hand side of where I've took this picture, or like one aisle over, right? They're all of the like frozen chips, all of the pies, everything like that, pizza and certain things like that in this particular store was gone, right? But I just thought I'd show this one picture because you can see in this picture, right? You can see in this picture that as you go up the aisles further, right? As you go further up the aisle, you can see that all of the stuff, all of the luxury things that people normally eat are gone, man, right? And then you've got these two people, I ain't trying to put them on the camera, in fact, I don't know who they are, just two Edomites or whatever. But you can see, like, even on the other side of the shelf, right, that you can see in the reflection, you can see that certain things in that side are empty as well, right? But the day is going to come where this is going to be the standard, man. People are going to be going in here and they might see like one chip in the bottom of the freezer and they might try and eat that, man, right? They might eat that. They'll be lucky to find one crumb, some breadcrumbs or something like that from in the bottom of the freezer, man. That's what kind of things that people are getting ready to see. Nothing there. And as you can see in the corner, like far off in the corner, right, very far off, you can see that there's still like certain, I think that's like potato chips, crisps and stuff like that, right? You can see that there's alcohol there, Corona, I think that is, Corona bottles, right? But the day is going to come where none of that stuff's going to be in the store, man, because people are going to have already ransacked that and stole it already, right? People are already going to have took all of that. That's what people are getting ready to see, man. They're getting ready to see the stores empty for food. And when this happens, people are going to be like, well, if the food ain't in the stores, it's obviously in somebody's house. And then they're going to go and seek their neighbor to try and steal their neighbor's food. And the neighbor might give some initially, but eventually they're going to be like, well, there's not enough for the two of us. And it's going to cause fights between neighbor and neighbor, man. And I'm saying neighbor in the sense as in the people that live next here. A lot of people think that they're so civilized, right? A lot of these Edomites and these heathens think that they're so civilized and try and look at us like we're scumbags. But who was the main people that was bulk buying everything? And so that you can't get none during the lockdown? Who was it? Who was the main people doing this? Was it not the people that have money? Who's the main people that have money? Is it not these heathens? They was the main ones ransacking up the shops and bulk buying everything, man. But then they got the nerve to try and look at us sideways. This is 2 Ezra chapter 15 and verse 19 again. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. And these people was doing that, man. These people was hitting each other upside the head when it came time to just for toilet roll, man. These people was getting real aggressive for toilet roll. That was the main thing. You're thinking that there's going to be a famine of food, and the first thing you run to do is fill a whole trolley, one whole trolley full of toilet roll, man. That's what women was doing, because you know women, the main people that I saw was bulking buying up their toilet roll is women, because women, like, they know that if they don't take care of their hygiene, they are in a way worse situation than a man that's not taking care of his hygiene, man. Because according even to the scriptures, women are dirtier than men. And that's why a mother has a longer purification period after having a daughter than if she was to have a son. Right, but not to make the lesson be too much about that, man. But these things that are coming upon the earth are going to cause people to lose their mind, man. They're going to cause people to lose their mind. Let me read this. 2 Ezra chapter 16 and verse 33. The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. The daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. So all of these types of people are going to be getting taken away, man. Verse 34. In the wars shall the bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. And that's what's getting ready to happen. There's going to be people that are going to men are going to perish from famine, right? And men that are going to perish from wars. And this is what's going to cause, in particular, Isaiah chapter 3, verse 16 on down, to be truly fulfilled, man. and Isaiah chapter 4 and verse 1 as well, where it says that in that day, a woman's going to seek for one man. 7 women are going to seek for one man. That's what's going to cause for these things to happen. And people can laugh and say, nah, that would never happen. Some woman can say, nah, I would never bow down to no man. I'd never bow down to one of these dusty busties, whatever they want to call it. Dusty, all that talk, period, and all that. They can say all of that all they want, right? People can say, get cocky all they want. But if Esau, with all of the financial backing that he's got and all the military that he's got, he's going to be brought down to nothing. How much more you, an Israelite woman that's in your captivity, trying to pretend as though you're like you're not in that captivity, man. You're going to be humbled too. If Esau is going to get humbled and he's the main helper that's helping you Israelite women be proud right now, then of course you're going to fall down too with him, because you've trusted in him and you've trusted in the wine that he's promoting in his society, man. And then famines are definitely going to come. Definitely, no doubt about it. The famine's going to come, man. And that me seeing this stuff in the store showed it again, right? Showed it again, man. And then when I was in this, as I was taking this picture, I could see the looks on certain people's face, and then they were surprised, man. They were surprised because they had probably forgot what had happened previously 2 years before, man. And really not even 2 years before, because even maybe like a year ago, we were still in that thing deep. But people have forgot, like they've had their minds hardened from that. And people might say, nah, you can't say that. Well, the Israelites had their hearts, the disciples had their hearts hardened. The scriptures say the disciples had their hearts hardened from seeing Yahushua feed as many as he did with the fish and the loaves, man. And if you don't believe me, you can look it up for yourself, and you will see that they had their hearts had been hardened to that, to the point where they didn't remember that he did that, and they was all nervous, worrying about food. When he was traveling with his disciples on a boat, they was all worrying about, oh, how we gonna eat? How we gonna eat? There's not enough food. But their mind had been hardened, and they'd been blinded to remember that Yahushua had performed that work previously before them, man. So if these men that were righteous was having that, or was seeking to be righteous was having that happen to them, how much more people that are wicked right now are they gonna forget about things that they've seen to show them as a warning? Now let me go back to the scriptures again. I'll read this again. 2 Ezra chapter 15. In fact, let me go to this scripture, because a lot of people don't believe these certain things, like about the judgments that are coming, but it's gonna happen, man, and it's gonna be terrifying, man. It's gonna be a terrifying time to live through, man, because we're calling for this time. We hope that this time happens, but we still are gonna have to live through this time as well. It's not like we're gonna be completely exempt from seeing any kind of evil when this time happens. We're not just gonna be walking around with a in the spiritual sense, we are gonna be walking around with a force field around us if we're of the elect. But that force field is not gonna make us not be in any danger to where we don't have to see anything, man. Because everyone's still got to go through that hour of temptation also, where they refuse to take the charagma in order to get beamed up, man. In order to really seal that they was about the Lord or not. Because everybody right now, right, and no, any Israelite shouldn't doubt this one I'm about to say, right? No Israelite should doubt that it's easy to say things now, but it will be different to say things when faced with that charagma, man. It's different then. Anyone can say whatever they want to say now, but the ultimate test for every single Israelite, forget the heathen, the ultimate test for every single Israelite is going to be to not take that charagma that's mentioned in Revelation 13 and verse 16. And in order to not take that, you have to know what it is. And we believe, right? I believe that it's the RFID or the NFC, right? That's what I believe it is. It's that grain of rice thing, that grain of rice technology that can go in your hand or in your head. That's what it is. And that can clearly be used to buy or sell. But you've got other people saying it's all these other different things, but it's not though. Because those things are not a charagma. They can't go under your skin, right? And you cannot use those things to buy or sell. And the world is not making a whole infrastructure that would clearly be perfected if they was able to give this to every single person on the earth. But let me read this scripture. Amos chapter 5 and verse 18. Born to you that desire the day of Yahweh, To what end is it for you? The day of Yahweh is darkness and not light. So it's good that we call upon the day of the Lord to come to pass, right? Because that's the only way that we're going to get into the kingdom. We ain't getting into the kingdom without the day of the Lord coming. We ain't getting into the kingdom without Jacob's trouble coming. We ain't getting into the kingdom without seeing that. So any Israelite that's under the delusions, or any Bible believer that's under the delusions of saying, oh, I'm going to be raptured out the earth before I see these things. You think that people that used to believe in the Bible that are dead now and gone didn't think that they was probably going to be raptured out the earth before they saw World War One, before they saw all the evils that happened in that time? Or do you think that people didn't think they might have been raptured out before they saw World War Two? You didn't think that? You didn't think there was ever any time that the Israelites thought that we was going to be already beamed up and in the kingdom way before we went through the Atlantic slave trade? Or you didn't think that there was any Israelites that thought that they was going to get beamed up into the kingdom before Christopher Columbus, that demon, right, came over to the Americas and slaughtered the Native Americans, which is the tribe of Gad and the tribe of Reuben and all of those tribes? You think that they didn't think that they was going to maybe see the kingdom before those things happened? But those things happened, and centuries later, the kingdom still didn't happen, man. Back when the Israelites was, after Yahushua was crucified, certain Israelites thought, oh, now it's time for the kingdom. And they asked Yahushua and said, is it now that you're going to give us the kingdom? But even then was not it. So people right now that are living more wickedly than anyone's ever lived in their life, who are they to think, right? Salakia. Who are they to think that they ain't gonna go through any who are they to think that they ain't gonna go through any judgments, man? Who are they to think that they ain't gonna see anything on the earth? Who are they? We ain't nobody to that our generation should be able to receive less judgment than any other format, because this generation and the people that are living right now on the earth are some of the most wicked, man. So this is gonna be the worst judgment that anyone's ever seen. Amos chapter 5 and verse 18 again, woe unto you that desire the day of Yahweh. To what end is it for you? The day of Yahweh is darkness and not light. As if a man did flee from a lion, and a bear met him, or went into the house, and leaned his hand on the wall, and the serpent bit him. Shall not the day of Yahweh be darkness and not light, even very dark, and no brightness in it? So the day of the Lord is not going to be a fun time, right? It's not just going to be all the Bible believers holding hands in some cave somewhere, right, surrounded by a buffet's worth of food, clapping their hands, singing psalms until the chariot comes and beams them up. It's not going to be that. It's going to be running from one evil situation to another evil situation, to another evil situation, to another one, to another one, to another one, to another, to another, and to another, until you get faced with an hour of temptation and get beamed up, and you either take that and get destroyed, or you refuse it and you might lose your life, but you lose your life to glory, because you end up receiving your life anyway. And when you get changed and come back, you'll be changed, and your memorial will be that you didn't take the charagma. But if you are an Israelite and you take it and get destroyed, and when you come back, your memorial is going to be that you took it. And that's how you're going to get shame and everlasting contempt in the kingdom. That's what that scripture is talking about, man, when it says about shame and everlasting contempt. So yeah, that's the lesson, man. I just wanted to talk a little bit about how that famine's going to be real, man. And let me show the image again, right? That famine's going to be real, man. That famine's going to be real, right? This is the picture right there. And the whole, this freezer was like, this was a big supermarket, man. This was a big supermarket. And the freezer was probably about, if I had to measure how long the freezer was, I'd say that the freezer length was at least 10 meters, right? The freezer length was at least maybe, let me say 8 to 10 meters long. And there was no food in any of those freezers, right? There was no food in any of those freezers. And there was a whole nother aisle to the right hand side, right? And there was no food in any of those either, right? And then there was also a whole dairy aisle that was again at least 8 to 10 meters long, and there was no food, nothing in any of those also, man. So that's 3 aisles worth of food completely cleaned out, man. Completely cleaned out. And I forgot to mention that the day is also going to come where that water's gone too. That's gonna be gone. And the waters that Esau's gonna be trying to give you, right? He'll be, man, the water that he'll try and give you will be poison, man. They might try and say, oh, there's something dodgy with the tap water. Turn off your taps. Oh, there's power. The power's out, so we can't. The pumps don't work to pump your water. So you're gonna have to, you're just gonna have to deal with it until we can get it back up. These are the things that are gonna be happening, man. But yeah, I'm gonna end the lesson there. The famines are definitely gonna happen, man. And this was a further proof of that. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kodash. The one on us to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the nation of Israel. Shalom.